America. Rodney Stitch is a former FAA informant, whistleblower, who they tried to turn on when he did that. And Rodney Stitch made a point of interviewing former operatives in the FBI, the CIA, and the DEA, talking about government criminality. There's Daniel Hofsicker, who is still alive and still very active, who learned about the story of Barry Seal, the CIA drug smuggler, who I think that the Bushes and Oliver North murdered on February 19th.
Another man that I've interviewed in the past, Chip Tatum. I haven't interviewed Chip Tatum, but he's been interviewed by friends of mine. Now we've got. Do we have somebody on from the 480 area code? Who do we have here? We got a caller.
Yeah, this is Scout Rev. We told us to phone in.
Yeah, you're on. What's your name? Who do we have here? You're on with Robert and Clay.
Scout Rev, we're on John show. We hate dope. We're the anti-dope people. We want to get rid of it, and we got it to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. These dope dealers here in Colorado. You heard they legalized it here, right?
Oh, I think that's personally a good thing. I don't consider marijuana or hemp a drug, and that's been demonized. And
all the other stuff with it.
What other stuff? Nobody. I haven't heard of anybody trying to make cocaine legal.
Can you hear me?
What?
We're going to bring that in with the international dope dealers. We got witnesses in the foothills here who ran into the local ED running dope cocaine to South Dakota Indian reservations through here. We turn this all over to the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency. This isn't the Joint Chiefs. This is not just they made it sound like it's just a marijuana issue. It's worse than that. That's just the cover story. Federal agents told us, well, they agree with us. That's not their jurisdiction. We're the first team in history to get this to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And we got all these carousels like this. We wanted to dope up the one they said shot up that movie theater in the Morrow, Colorado last summer.
Yeah.
That crocodile story. Well, he's being doped, and he don't have a chance to say anything. He's through, right?
He's putting on an insanity defense. That's his defense is an insanity.
Yeah, that means death penalty in this case, because they're not going to get it cleared for the prosecutor again. We call everyone government treated no intelligence.
All right, wait a minute now. Let's get back to this. You talked to the Joint Chiefs. You told them that about the drug running. I mean, we got if the president is involved, at least the ex-president, involved in the drug running. What did the Joint Chiefs have to say about it? We're not talking about marijuana. The voters in Colorado have made marijuana legal, but the feds still want to go after it. And it's the feds and the CIA that are bringing in the cocaine and the heroin into this country. My God, you've got your troops, our troops, like Pat Tillman, who they murdered, guarding the opium poppy crops in Afghanistan. We've talked about that. Now, what are the Joint Chiefs? You've talked to them about this drug running. Are they part of it, or do they want to stop it? What is it?
We better want to stop it because this governor's starting a full Soviet dope rebellion against America. That's what covered under U.S. Public Law 109-364, Section 1076. We call it. It's even discussed at the U.S. Army War College in Quarantine, Colorado. This way, nothing comes in and nothing goes out. That's the program, and whatever you don't want here ain't gonna get here. And the lowlights who deal in it, we just round up, cut them off, round them up. That's the whole program. And it's even listed on our twitter.com/BubbaScoutRev. You'll see it's going into all the U.S. military commands on the North American continent. And we're on official documents, DOD Live.mil, Chairman's Corner of the Joint Chiefs, February 2011. and the enemy broadcasters are all making believe, and they're all just stupid, dope fantasy. They're snorting something, because they're all twisted. They're making believe there's something going on, and you can look it up under the 13 letters, Bubba Scout Rep. It's BUBBASCOUTREB.
All right, if you've got a movement going here, they ought to. If you got a movement going here, they need somebody that's a little bit more clear and sharp to present it, because you don't make sense. Take him off, Richard.
Yeah, but it does on the internet. If you read it.
I read the internet every day. You're supposed to be a caller. You're supposed to have something to say, and I hadn't heard anything intelligent from you yet. Take him off.
He is gone. He is gone.
All right. Now,
well, if you want to Google that guy, Bubba Scout Rev, and then determine for yourself if you think it's credible. How about that?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. That was really weird, because I thought you said 40-0, so I started talking, and then this crazy guy started talking over me.
Okay, who are you? I'm sorry. Who am I talking to right now? Is it?
My name's Nathan. I'm out here in Arizona.
All right, Nathan.
I just, I am kind of, I repeat the same thing over and over again. I guess I'm going to continue until I get people to consider it and for it to sink in long enough for them to check it out on their own. I appreciate you guys doing what you're doing. This is the first time I've actually listened to your show, so if I'm off track a little bit, but I apologize. But the whole Patriot situation is definitely a situation. The past few years, I've been getting into the history of the founding fathers and the linguistics of the Constitution, and when it comes to we the people, they were specifically using something that at the time was used very commonly, especially in contract law, which was called capitonynym, CAPITONYM, which makes it specifically pertain to those that are, signing, the people involved in the contract. And so that's why they capitalize we and they capitalize people.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in this. The show today is about the drug running by our officials, by our Republican Party, by our presidential candidates, by our presidents. If you've got something to add to that.
Yeah, it does have to do with all that, because it's on how we approach all these situations, like drug running, like the drug war itself. We have to know our place, and unfortunately, we have a huge patriot movement right now that thinks this way or that are collecting a huge arsenal and reciting, their constitutional rights, when the only real right that we have is international rights that are, basically the right of self-determination to create our own separate and equal.
But you don't believe in the Bill of Rights? You don't believe in the Second Amendment? You don't believe in our ability to worship as we please? You don't believe in our God-given rights? This has nothing to do with international law. This is our founding documents, our founding fathers who fought against the New World Order of their day. The sun never sets on the English Empire. Now you're getting involved and dropping down into linguistics, and you're not making sense to me either. But thank you for listening. I appreciate it. All right. Again, we will take calls here, but Robert Morrow is my guest today, and I don't know, Robert. I mean, maybe we're not getting through to people. Somehow it's like they missed the whole intent of this show. Or maybe that the people have been dumbed down so much that they're not capable of rational thought. Maybe they've been fed so much fluoride, so many chemtrails, inhaled so many chemtrails, and eaten so many McDonald's genetically modified crap that they can't think anymore. I mean, this is what I get. I feel like I've just walked into a Walmart and trying to tell people what's going on, you know?
Well, we're going to get back on track here, Clay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Can we talk about the story of Chip Tatum?
Yeah, please. Please. I know I've known Chip through other people. I haven't had him on personally. I'm not even sure if he's alive or dead or out of jail. So many of these people, these operatives, have been put in prison for life, like William Tyree. What's happened to Chip Tatum? Where is he? I heard he was out.
Chip Tatum just...
Go ahead.
Watch the loop on your side. I think Chip Tatum is very important. He is a former CIA Pegasus assassin working directly for George Herbert Walker Bush. He was tasked to either assassinate or terrify Ross Perot in 1992 because Ross Perot knew about all the drugs. Ross Perot, when he found out about the drugs, through Bo Gright, went and visited Contra in Burma, and he went there looking for POWs. And Contra told him, well, we don't have any of your POWs, but by the way, I sell all of my heroin crop to your CIA and Richard Armitage, my point of contact, and he works in your Department of Defense. And so when Perot found out about that back in the 1980s, 1986, 87, he became incensed. He flew into Washington, D.C. He's a billionaire from Texas. He's used to people doing what he tells them. And he cannot believe he finds out that nobody wants to talk to him about the government running drugs. Nobody wants to stop it. That the Richard Armitage is protected, but Ross Perot is not. And so he had this huge argument with George Herbert Walker Bush saying, you got to end this drug deal. You got to fire this guy. Bush won't do it. And instead, Bush takes away the high-level intelligence clearance of Ross Perot that had been given by Reagan to hunt for American POWs. And so Perot is incensed. He can't believe, the kind of treatment that he's becoming a target. And so he decides to run for president in 1992 with one goal in mind, that is to get rid of George Herbert Walker Bush. Many people don't know this, that in 1992, Ross Perot was coordinating with Bill Clinton the entire campaign. And the reason we know that is because one of Bill Clinton's state troopers made a cassette tape called More Than Sex. His name is Larry Patterson. You can get the cassette tape off of Amazon.com. It's called More Than Sex, the story of Bill Clinton and all this stuff. And he says that Perot and Clinton would often have dinner together, lunch together. They would have a lot of phone calls. They were coordinating the entire campaign in 1992 to get rid of George Herbert Walker Bush. But it is kind of funny because Ross Perot succeeded. He got rid of a Republican CIA drug smuggler, George Bush, and he replaced him with a Democratic CIA drug smuggler, Bill Clinton. So it's like heads they win, tails you lose. Any way you look at it. So Chip Tatum was the CIA assassin in 1992 who was told by George Herbert Walker Bush, you need to go either assassinate Ross Perot or basically terrorize him into dropping out of the race. And Chip Tatum told Bush, look, you guys, I've done a lot for you. I've killed a lot of people. I've done a lot of dirty stuff, but I'm not going to do that. I quit. I'm not doing that. So Chip Tatum left the CIA. He left being an assassin. He left counterintelligence in 1992. He refused the intimidation campaign of Ross Perot, whose life truly was in danger. And because George Bush knew that Ross Perot was a billionaire, he couldn't be controlled. He knew that if he became president, he could reappoint all these federal attorneys. They could begin prosecutions of George Bush and anybody around him that was involved in the drug trade. That's how scared George Herbert Walker Bush was of Ross Perot
I appreciate that. Now, what do we have today? What's your take on Obama? I've said Obama. I think he's the perfect new world order leader. That, and of course, Bush really introduced us to the new world order. Now we can see a new world coming into view. Henceforth, we pledge allegiance to the United Nations. The I refer to the Republicans and Democrats, Bush and Clinton, as two wings of the same bird. I was fairly comfortable with being called a right-wing extremist when Clinton was in office, but when the real right-wing extremists got in there under George Bush Jr., I guess I became a liberal overnight. I don't really know. I'm having an identity crisis here.
The neocon extremists.
Yeah, well, the neocons are simply the Bolsheviks in suits. But Obama, I mean, they appoint Obama as the chief of the Security Council. That's always been a Russian general in the past, and suddenly we got a president that's there. But he's a perfect new world order leader. He's black, he's white, he's Muslim, he's Jewish, he's Christian. He's all things rolled into one. And except the lawyer, he got disbarred or gave up his law license to practice law. But what's your take on him? I mean, is he? Of course, we've got our troops under Obama. We've got our troops guarding the opium poppy fields, and they killed Pat Tillman for wanting to blow the whistle on that.
Well, I oppose Obama because of his attack on gun rights, but really, Clayton, it's really the same old, same old. Like you just pointed out, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, their masters are the same. You know, the international bankers, the globalists, the endless war people, the turn America into a police state people. I really don't see a whole lot of difference between them. As far as Obama himself, I think he's less malevolent than George Walker Bush or Lyndon Johnson, probably less so than a Nixon, and less so than a Clinton. So I'm pretty soft on Obama. You know, I mean, I've seen what's been out there the past 50 years in American politics. I've seen all the murderers at the highest levels of the presidency, all the drug running, the murders. And Obama actually looks kind of good compared to them. That's my personal opinion.
Well, if a cross-dressing homosexual can look good, I don't know. I don't know. And I think.
You know, because well, I'll give you an example. George Walker Bush likes to play with little boys. That's in the Franklin scandal. Lyndon Johnson murdered John Kennedy. Richard Nixon was going to murder Jack Anderson, a journalist. The Clintons are in bed with the Bushes. The Clintons hire private detectives to terrorize Bill's sex victims and girlfriends. Bill Clinton himself is a rapist. Okay? That's a lot of competition for Obama to run up to.
Now, I think it's quite possible that his father was an American. His father was a communist, Frank Marshall Davis, and 'cause he certainly looks more like him than any of his other so-called fathers. But that's probably why he's an officer, just keeping it top secret and using this whole citizenship issue, birth certificate issue, as a facade or a distraction.
Well, so he's an American citizen after all. His dad is a communist pornographer, Franklin Marshall Davis. You know, you might like Obama, Clayton. Apparently, he smoked a lot of dope when he was in high school.
Yeah, well, that's all right. You know, idiots can smoke dope too. You know. I'm kind of an equal opportunity. I'm kind of an equal opportunity basher. You know, it's like I tell people, the Second Amendment, like the one idiot Nathan they called and doesn't like the Bill of Rights. You know, my God.
Right.
You know, the Bill of Rights is what protects you. The First Amendment allows me to write and print anything that I want to. And the First Amendment, it allows you to worship any way you want. So if you want to go hug a tree, yeah, I got a pair of tweezers here. We can get the splinters out. If you want to get on your hands and knees and stick your ass up in the air, I might even try to keep the St. Bernards out of you. And if you want to bang your head against that wailing wall over there and knock yourself out, I'll watch. And if you're a Christian and you want to get on your knees and pray to God for a Cadillac, I'll put in a good word for you so you don't drop it on top of your fat ass.
Hey, Clay, I want to tell you some more about Chip Tatum and his conversation with Oliver North about what Jeb Bush was going to do to Barry Seal. Okay, are you ready for that?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. This is Chip Tatum talking here. Chip Tatum, you can Google his story on the internet. You Google Chip Tatum Pegasus. It's one of the most important stories that come out in the past 25 years. He was a CIA Pegasus counterintelligence assassin with the government working directly under George Walker Bush. So Chip Tatum knew Oliver North, and he talked to Oliver North about what was going to happen to Barry Seal. He said, North continued, he says, Vice President Bush, is very concerned about those missing monies. I think he's going to have Jeb arrange something out of Colombia. He told his comrades, not thinking twice of my presence. What Mr. North was referring to ended up being the assassination of Barry Seal by members of the Medellin cartel in early 1986. And actually, it wasn't the Medellin cartel, it was the Cali cartel that was wiping out the Medellin cartel and killing Barry Seal on the exact same day. What many people don't know is on the very day that Barry Seal was murdered in Baton Rouge, Louisiana by Colombians who thought they were working for Oliver North, Barry Seal's mistress, Barbara, was murdered in Miami on that exact same day, and two other members of the Medellin cartel were murdered down in Colombia. The number 2 guy named Pablo Carrera and another guy named Pablo Ochil were assassinated in Colombia. That was the Medellin cartel that was being killed by Cali members who were probably working for the American CIA.
Or I call the Cali cartel yes, sir. The Cali cartel is the drug cartel that's controlled by the banksters. The Medellin cartel, they were the wild cards. They were the rebels. And of course, Pablo Ocho and all that, they murdered them.
Right. So.
Okay.
That's correct. They couldn't control them anymore, and so they swapped out cartels and were backing. But see, I have a friend who has personally interviewed Chip Tatum several times, and he told me a lot of interesting things. So I'm going to read to you. My friend is named John Gentry. He's in Dallas, Texas, and he interviewed Chip Tatum
just a moment. Let me stop you for just a second. Because John Gentry is the man that filmed True Face of FEMA for me, that filmed America Dreamer Nightmare for me. John Gentry has been working with me for many, many years. God bless him. He's done great work. The True Face of FEMA today, you can still get that today. That's when John went into the first Homeland Security meeting at Albrook Air Force Base at Sandia Labs and filmed the True Face of FEMA, and then he filmed me talking about the True Face of FEMA in 2 of my Free American expos. So yes, I know John. Please quote from him. He's absolutely reliable and a wonderful man.
Absolutely. A true American hero, John Gentry. What John Gentry told me, Clay, was that when he was interviewing Chip Tatum in the late 1990s, that other people with the same name of John Gentry were being killed in the Dallas area. So he had to go underground for a couple months or a few years. So, but here's what Chip Tatum told him about what was going to happen to Oliver North. He said that when it came to Ross Perot, he says that Tatum explained in reference to illegal firearms dealing. Loose lips sink ships was one of Bush Sr.'s favorite axioms. In this case, a foreign head of state died because of North's loose lips. North has no idea how close he came to sharing the same fate. The agent had orders, as says Chip Tatum. Chip Tatum had orders that if a handkerchief was not dropped after a conference with Gorbanifar, that's the Iranian, the entire room, including North, were to be eliminated. That was after another North gaffe. But Bush's loose lips policy extended to those who could give testimony in congressional hearings also. I believe an Israeli by the name of Miriam Nir got a subpoena. The agent I spoke to, that Chip Tatum, actually knew Nir, but was not told whose plane it was he was ordered to bring down. Nir died in the crash and subsequent fire, another victim to Bush's loose lips policy. So that's Chip Tatum telling us that Bush was on the verge of having him assassinate Oliver North. How about that, Clay?
Well, I can't think of anyone that probably deserves being assassinated more than Oliver North. He was the kingpin of this whole.
I can agree with you 100% on that.
Now, let's go back to Michael Harari. I pulled this up, John Friend's blog. I put this up on the chat room, and I put it up on Facebook. It's because what we're in right now was a result of 9/11. It was they tried to do that to us with the bombing of Oklahoma City, which again the Mossad has been linked to. And 9/11 was a nuclear, I believe it was a nuclear attack. There's nothing else that could have brought those buildings down other than a directed nuclear weapon, which Israel has. But I did a search on Michael Harari to see where he was at now, and I got this, that it has long been clear that 9/11 was carried out operationally by the Israeli Mossad. This devastating false flag terrorist attack was facilitated, assisted, and covered up by a powerful international network of individuals in and out of government that are dedicated to Zionism and the State of Israel. The attack was successful largely as a result of the false narrative and disinformation, that's the Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, immediately put forth by the Zionist-owned Western media. The facts and information that fail to validate or attempt to even remotely challenge the foreign policy objectives of Zionist-occupied U.S. government rarely see the light of day. Mainstream American journalists' primary role and duty is to protect and uncritically pass along the viewpoints of American policymakers in giving cover to their criminal behavior. Hey, we got a lot of static coming here. Richard, I don't know what's going on here.
Right.
All right, there we go. We got rid of the static.
Yeah, it seems to be coming.
It's gone now. In other words, your mainstream American journalist's primary role and duty is to protect and uncritically pass along the viewpoints of American policymakers, in effect giving cover to their criminal behavior, while attacking and criticizing others who dare challenge those in power. It's not a stretch to characterize mainstream journalism as, in essence, the public relations arm of the criminal elements controlling the government and those that carried out 9/11. All right, I guess we got a caller here with a kid in the background, 919. Who do we have here?
Actually, I think the person dropped poison.
Okay, I just saw 919 pop up
Well,
here.
they can call right back. How about that?
Okay, Robert, what about that? I mean, this is why I started the Free American Magazine after what happened at Waco. That was a psychological operation on American people, the same way as Oklahoma City 1 year later, to derail the militia movement that I helped start. And I started the Free American because the mainstream media was trying to convince the American people that somehow we had to go in and kill 17 little children to save them from a child molester that had never been convicted, accused, or even arrested for child molestation. The mainstream media fed us that line. They fed us the whole bit.
Well, Clayton, I agree with you 100%. You know, Rodney.
They also fed us the crap about 9/11, about the Twin Towers getting brought down.
Was absolutely an outrage.
I swore I would never sit back and watch something like that happen on television without trying to do something about it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Robert.
Absolutely. And who do you think ordered the final assault on Waco on April 19, 1993? I'm going to tell you who it was. It wasn't Janet Reno, and it wasn't Bill Clinton. It was Hillary Clinton that ordered the final assault, and it ended up being a de facto murder of 76 Branch Davidians, including 21 children and 2 pregnant women. And the reason we know that Hillary did it was because years later, when they were investigating it, they kept finding out that Hillary was the one that was telling Webb Hubbell, who worked at the Department of Justice under Janet Reno, who was only on the job for 2 weeks, to go ahead and resolve the situation by any means necessary. Hillary Clinton in 1993 was very mad about the Waco siege because it was taking the headlines away because she was too busy trying to socialize medicine in America. So she made a very rash decision, which was to go in there and attack Waco. By the way, Webb Hubbell, who she told that to, is the biological father of Chelsea Clinton. Bill Clinton is not the father of Chelsea. Webb Hubbell is. And so Hillary was using her boyfriends, Vince Foster and Webb Hubbell, to lean on and intimidate Janet Reno into doing something she didn't want to do. Janet Reno is said to have said, "Give me a reason not to do this," shortly before the orders were issued in the final assault. But Hillary Clinton was the driving force behind it. There you go.
Yeah, well, let's see, was she responsible for killing her boyfriend too, or was that somebody else?
It's very unlikely. The reason the Clintons didn't murder Vince Foster is because that Vince Foster was Hillary's boyfriend. He was almost her emotional husband. I know it's hard for the listener to imagine that a man could be obsessed with Hillary Clinton, but Vince Foster was. And he was very depressed over the relationship that he had with her. Things were going poorly. They were getting into all these legal scandals that he couldn't stop. He worked in the White House counsel's office. And Hillary was humiliating him in front of other people in meetings. And he certainly wasn't getting any, quote, special time with her. You can imagine that. And so, either somebody else killed Vince Foster or he committed suicide. Hillary certainly didn't do it because the only person Hillary would kill would be Bill Clinton. Aside from the fact, so you asked me about Obama a few minutes. You said, well, what do you think about him? And I said, well, Clay, actually, he looks relatively good compared to these people because you look at Hillary Clinton. They burned up 76 people at Waco. Lyndon Johnson murdered John Kennedy. He had a lot of help. Richard Nixon was going to kill people. George Walker Bush is probably one of the biggest criminals we've ever had in 50 years. I just can't say that Barack Obama is in their league.
Well, we'll see about that. He may be, it may be that I don't think it could be any worse, again, than what we've had in the past here. And what bothers me, I really don't see any way to change it.
Right.
Except with the self-sufficient family farm. But the feds aren't going to let you do it. They're trying to pass, even Obama put out an executive order saying that the government needs to get more involved in rural lands. We've got Agenda 21, which is a whole nother subject, but it's basically an attack on the rural lands, and that's what almost 20 years ago we were talking about the Wildlands Project, where they were trying to drive the settlers out, the farmers out, the ranchers out. They don't want you back in the woods. They want you into these concentration camps that the uninformed call cities. You know, like Houston, Fort Worth, Dallas. It's it's the police state. They can't monitor you and control you if you live out in the country, if you're self-sufficient, if you generate your own power and you grow your own food. There's no way they can control you. And Nighthawk's telling me come to Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, Clay.
Yes, sir.
Give the listener those videos by John Gentry that they can look on YouTube. One of them by John Gentry is called Presidential Secrets, and it's his interview of Chip Tatum. It's called Presidential Secrets. Former CIA Black Ops speaks out with ex-FBI Ted Gunderson. The other one is one called The True Face of FEMA that you put up on the internet.
That's my
what
film.
What are some other videos of John Gentry
that's
that
my film.
listeners can...
That's my film, True Face of FEMA. The American Dream or Nightmare, Consent of the Governed. John filmed about 12 or 14 constitutional scholars, and we made that into a video. It's wonderful. I mean, you've got Red Beckman talking about the Constitution and others that the list is just too long to go into. All that's up on my website. You can go to shop.
Where can we buy that video?
Shop.freeamerican.com. Shop.freeamerican.com. www. You know, the beginning there. It's and you can get the True Face of FEMA.
I think I'm gonna buy that because I don't have that one yet.
Well, it's amazing because what we filmed what he filmed back there for me was Colonel John Brinkerhoff, luxury law enforcement at Sandia Labs in Albuquerque and Kirtland Air Force Base. In case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people because some of them just won't follow orders. In other words, some of us won't line up on a Kmart parking lot to get a vaccination to protect us from a disease that has been extinct and put away in America for about 100 years. It's the same disease that they use to kill off, about a few million Indians, Native Americans here in this country. But Brinkerhoff's asked by a special forces guy there. He said
they would give them disease blankets.
That's right. And they're doing the same thing to his. We don't have disease blankets. We're a little bit larger. They can't afford the blankets, so they spray us with chemtrails. They're feeding us aluminum, barium, and who knows what else. If you watch the skies and you see them spraying, then you watch the newspapers and watch the rise in asthma and other diseases that follow these sprayings. They are poisoning the American people, and they're doing it with the genetically modified foods also. Now, folks, you can get True Face of FEMA. You can get John Gentry's films, American Dream or Nightmare, and Chemtrails. And there's been nothing since I put out the first video on chemtrails that's any better than this. You can all get that at shop.freeamerican.com. Go to my website. Tell people about this show. Support Revolution Radio. Make a donation. And if you get for a $100 donation, You can get the guides to how you can be self-sufficient again. Robert, I'd love to have you back. It's been a great show. Thank you very much. And folks, send a donation to clay@freeamerican.com and get one of my books, your choice. Robert, we're out of time.
Had a great time.
Thank you very much, sir. Bye-bye now.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks. Had a wonderful time, okay?
I enjoyed you very much. And stay tuned, guys. We got a wonderful lineup for this next week. Bandit. Hi, baby.
I heard part of the show from the comfort of the bed. Who was that guy?